Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking to you about my $4,000 Darth Vader suit. This suit specifically is supposed to be a replica of Empire Strikes Back's version.
You are beaten. It is useless to resist.
And while it is obviously not 100% perfect, I did my best to try to strive towards that with a few creative liberties here and there. But I truly believe that I put together one of the best looking Darth Vader suits out there. So let's take a look and suit up. Now before we do get into it, I'm going to dive a little bit more in depth into this video than I did on my previous one. I did initially put up a suit up video. This is not my first one, and I do apologize for you guys who are returning, but my build has changed a little bit over the years. When I first made that video, I had literally just shot it on my phone. I had no microphones, no lighting. I just stood in a corner and put on my suit. It did not look great, and I apologize for that. But my main goal with posting on social media and anything is just to create a healthy, open environment where people can also feel comfortable to pursue this type of thing. You know, most of the general public obviously thinks it's extremely ridiculous to do a Darth Vader suit, let alone spend $4,000 on one. But I think the most important thing that we need to remember as humans is you have to do what makes you happy. That's all it really comes down to. My main goal obviously was to get membership into the 501st Legion. However, and this is something that I need to stress that is incredibly important, you do not have to make your costume to fit 501st standard. And no, I'm not saying that those standards are too high to reach. I think you can actually do better. And that's not saying my Darth Vader suit is better than the current CRL model or anything like that. There are definitely certain problems with my costume right now that I need to fix, and I will talk about those. You'll see them. That's just life. Now, I've also done the best to make sure the costume is tailored to fit me well. And I know a lot of people, when they create their Darth Vader costumes, try their hardest to look like David Prowse, and unfortunately for a lot of people, they're just not that. And that's okay, there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes people add padding, or sometimes people add height to their costumes. That's just never been my thing. I've always wanted to work with what I have and make it look the best. Costume is already uncomfortable enough, and so why would I want to hinder my movements or make putting on the costume, wearing the costume, any more challenging than it already is? And so when I go over this costume, I'm going to do my best to talk about all of the amazing vendors that helped bring this to life. It was not a one-stop shop, and it's not like a Jazzwares costume where you can get it out of a suitcase. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But when you're creating something that you strive to be screen accurate, it's unfortunately going to take a lot of work, a lot of trust, and a lot of money. So with that being said, let's get into Vader suiting up. Part 2. Alright, so the first step when it comes to getting this suit on is actually nothing to do with the suit at all, but you have to wear compression gear underneath your suit for lots of different reasons. Number one, you have to wear it to keep sweat from getting into your leather. You might think, why wouldn't you put on just a regular compression shirt or like a short sleeve? Yes, it sucks. The suit's gonna be hot. It's not gonna make your experience that much worse, but with these sleeves right here, it actually prevents sweat from getting into your sleeves and damaging your leather even more than will already happen over time. I also go with compression shorts, compression pants, whatever you've got to go on underneath, whatever's gonna be most comfortable for you. Doesn't matter the brand, it all works out. The other last important piece to the undersuit is your balaclava. Now you can get a lot of different ones. I've seen people get cloth ones. I've seen people get the ones that I currently have on right now. It really doesn't matter as long as it goes up and covers your mouth, because believe it or not, most of the time, depending on what type of mask you have, your face will be very visible through that mask, and people will look up, people will see that. This just kind of helps buffer that. Now before I put these on and get moving with the suit, these are Soviet boots. These are the boots that are most accurate to Darth Vader. This is the same exact model I believe that he'd used, or is at least closest thing to it. Mine are a little bit beat up over the years. I've got a lot of rubbing from the shin armor, and these boots are very uncomfortable. What's incredible about these being Soviet surplus is you can actually see all the Russian lettering and everything in the inside. It is as legit as it gets. These things are old. Now, first actual piece that we can go over are the shins. These are the Empire Strikes Back shins from Portamax Studios. They are fiberglass shins, and they are held in place by 2 straps on each side and the back. Quite frequently, interestingly enough, I know they actually are different for each leg, but I kind of forget which one's which, and I mix them up on occasion. I know a lot of Vaders are hearing that and just going, "Rah!" But now, outside of the pants and shins, which are already obviously on me, I haven't zipped up any of that yet. For the 3-piece suit, which I would highly recommend you go for, is the sleeves. Now, each sleeve is going to have 2 zippers along the wrist because sometimes leather just gets really tight, so that helps you squeeze into it really easy. This and all of my leather except my Codpiece are from Phoenix Props, and you can find all their prices and information on their website. They also do respond by email, and they are most of the time, quick to respond. What's also included for a 3-piece suit is a zipper around each sleeve, so if I ever just want to wash this shirt just by itself, or detach any of that, I can do so by just zipping off these sleeves and chucking them in the wash. Something that I will also always suggest to Vaders is to make sure that you go a 3-piece suit because it's a lot more manageable. And by that I mean if you ever grow in size, if you ever shrink or anything like that, it's a lot easier to tailor and mess around when it's not just one specific jumpsuit. It's also a lot more breathable in my opinion, so go with a 3-piece suit. I would highly suggest it every single time. And my pants also, specifically like they do in Empire Strikes Back, have a black fabric stripe that go down the middle of them. Now the next step for the 3-piece suit is going to be the leather vest. Now this thing is normally something I can always do myself and get it zipped up all the way because the zipper itself is supposed to have a string attached on that back side. Unfortunately, my string is broken thanks to my cat, so I have to get that resewn. Without that string, you kind of do need someone to help you get it up all the way.
Talk to your doctor.
But for now, it's just at this point, all I'm going to do is just get this backside zipped up just a little bit. Just like that. It's fine that way. I've even done troops like that. I'll survive. It also, because of that zipper, is sitting just a little funny on my shoulders. Normally it'd be a little bit more tight in the back, but as of right now, this is a 3-piece suit from Phoenix Props. You can get all that information on their website. It's also really horrible with this suit, but you will get so many weird comments about your backside whenever you go to troops or whenever you go to events. The backside, it looks weird. It looks kinky. I'm sorry. What are you gonna do about it? Up next, this is where I slip on my codpiece, and this thing for Empire Strikes Back is an absolute beast. It is an amazing codpiece done by CR Props. They do excellent work. They do legitimately, in my opinion, the best in the business for codpieces. And outside of helmets, there's only one other piece that I would always suggest people go to one specific vendor, and it's CR Props. Codpiece has such really great details, but it also has some outstanding detail on the backside that make it feel more like an actual prop. It's so freaking cool. With a codpiece, to get this on, all you gotta do is just step through the actual loop, which is sometimes easier said than done, and then you just clip it in the back, and it, bam. Super easy. Looks ridiculous just by itself. This is not a look, let me tell you. My next piece is going to be the chest box, and this is one of the coolest parts of the costume. It does light up. It's powered by AA batteries, but this is also from Portamax Studios, who did my shins, my belt, and my shoulder armor. But this chest box is absolutely awesome. It's held in place by 4 different leather straps, unlike other versions of the costume where it's held in by magnets, harness system, or just straight up Velcro. The original trilogy all went by leather straps, but this box looks incredible. Now, chest box placement is incredibly important to making sure your costume looks good, and making it stand firm and sit where it's actually supposed to is also incredibly important because this chest box can shift around a lot. I know a lot of different Vaders have problems with this moving. I've been extremely lucky for the most part, but it sits in one specific spot. It doesn't really move for me, and then it's tightened in the back by kind of like a bra type system. Once again, the backside of Vader, it looks ridiculous, I know. From this place, I just get it positioned. Kind of doesn't really matter yet because that's all going to come into place once you get the robes on, but at least right here, this is how you get it on. Up next, in the first set of wool, which I also got from Phoenix Props, is going to be your inner robe. Now this thing is taking a beating over the years, and it's definitely not as pretty as it used to be, but it still is super functional and is held up well. Got some cat hair in it now, what can you do about it? But this robe just kind of goes on and sits loosely because this is all going to get held in place by the belt. Now this right here is the belt for Empire Strikes Back. Also made by Portamax Studios, as I had mentioned before. 3 different lights, I think 12 different aluminum rods. The biggest problem with the costume that I have, and I'll admit to this openly, is that when you want to get a good shape in this section, this is what so many Vaders struggle with, me included, is you want to make sure that the robes, the belts, and everything all have a good lineup and it has good spacing. My problem with this is I've been lazy and I have not gotten these robes velcroed to one specific spot. So, especially during troops and especially during movement, these robes move around a lot and it is not a great look. So if you're going to do this suit, you have got to be better than me and make sure you velcro these robes in place. I'm going to do it eventually, just hasn't happened yet. It's also incredibly important to make sure that you get the robes to a specific spot on your belt that you like, while also making sure that this belt box is positioned and has good spacing. It's different for everybody. There's going to be different lengths from the saber clip than it would be for a lot of people. But for me, this is kind of what works best in my opinion. At least it sits. But I do need to get these robes velcroed and actually set into place because as of right now, they kind of just move around. And when you're moving around at troops, especially outdoors, I'm not, believe it or not, I know everyone on Instagram says I just stand here like this. But in person, I move a lot. It's also important to have your belt sitting on top of the codpiece. Once again, this is a whole spacing thing that completely changes depending on who you are, but I like to have mine sitting just right on the top, just that ledge over the side. I think it looks best. Sometimes, unfortunately though, mine does shift down, so I need to get, once again, more Velcro to kind of sit that in place properly. These boxes, I believe, are either powered by AA or AAA, but this belt is really solid. Now, on the belt boxes itself, I actually took a gray paint Sharpie and I had painted over the edges to make it look a little bit more weathered. And unfortunately, my chest box, which this is not supposed to be the case. It's not supposed to be weathered, just from damage from the top of my shoulder armor, from travel and everything like that. Matches my belt boxes, and it kind of worked out. Might not always be super screen accurate, but it looks good. Now, these next few steps are where the costume gets really spicy because a lot of people have a few different methods for how to go about this. I've always done this specifically so that I can put the Darth Vader costume on by myself anytime without a handler. I know lots of people do different things, but this is my method and this is how I do it. Now, this is not common for a lot of Vaders, but the first thing that I do, oh look, my belt is already slipping, lovely, is I put on the cape first. And here's why I do that. I get the cape situated, get everything good to go, and then what I do from here is where it gets interesting. Now what I will do, I'll pop my gloves on, get those on first. What I do from this spot right here is I will take my helmet, and this is one of the best helmets, if not the best helmet on the market for Darth Vader. This helmet was made by a private maker named Mike Warren. He does work on his Facebook and Instagram. You can contact him directly there. But this guy does incredible work, and it's some of the most accurate pieces that you can find out there in regards to Darth Vader. It's not licensed, but the sad thing that I've discovered when it comes to cosplay and a lot of costumes is the best pieces have nothing to do with the actual brands that promote them. Nothing to do with it. Unfortunately, that's just the case. So what I do from this point is I will take my helmet, I'll pop it on, and I'll sit it right here. Now this is dangerous for a lot of different reasons. Your helmet's not always that secure, but it's up there. Bam. We leave it like that. Then what I do is I take my shoulder armor and I will sneak it right underneath the cape like that, and then pull it down as needed. Shoulder armor, also made by Portamax Studios. It's here, it's on me. It's extremely painful, but that has nothing to do with the maker. All shoulder armors for Darth Vader are gonna suck. This is probably, in my opinion, this is the worst part about the costume. With your capes, it also is incredibly important to make sure that these are steamed because wrinkles popped up. I can't even really see on camera how this looks right now, but I have not steamed mine in a little bit. I always leave mine hanging and it usually ends up okay, but there are just things that will get picked up in this cape. But as of right now, it is one of the coolest parts about the costume. Capes are so lame, capes are so nerdy, but Darth Vader, it looks so freaking sick. The other downside about the shoulder armor, it doesn't even technically have to do with the armor, but the cape itself is extremely heavy. This is a straight up wool cape. Also, what's incredibly important about this cape is making sure that it has a good length. You can't see it right now because you don't need to see it down there, but the cape has to be just above the floor. Now, I know in some shots in Empire Strikes Back, you could see it very clearly dragging, but for practicality purposes, you do not want it touching the floor. There's already enough going on with your cape. It's gonna be picking up twigs, leaves, things you never imagined it could. You wanna keep it just above the ground, but not too high. There's a really, really fine art to making sure that it looks good. Now finally, last things last, is the dome. So what I do is I just slide down my face mask from here. Audio is going to get real interesting here. I do apologize, ladies and gentlemen. But I will slide down my face mask. And I just pop on the dome, slide it, get it into position. Now, I can't see if the dome looks good in here, so I either need to go in a mirror, or I need to talk to somebody that I trust at a trooper event, and make sure that this centerpiece is lined up. I'm going to get real close here in a second, and from what I can see, honestly, it doesn't look bad. And so here we are. This is my full Darth Vader costume. It is absolutely a pain to wear. It's hot, it's sweaty, but this is the entire thing. Ta-da! What can get really painful about this costume is your range of movement because of this shoulder armor is extremely, extremely tight. With Empire Strikes Back, I cannot bring my arms higher than this. I cannot bring them any higher than this at any angle. This is the best I've got. The cape also restricts movement, and especially if you're swinging around a lightsaber, you're moving around at a fast pace. It flows, and it flows really beautifully, but it picks up a lot of air. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for sticking around at this point. These suit-ups are incredibly fun to do. It's incredibly great to get this information out there, because when I first got started with this, there was a guy named Alaskan Vader who did a YouTube video on here that most of you have probably already seen, but he did a suit-up of his Return of the Jedi Darth Vader, and that was what inspired me to not only even do social media in the way that I do, but also to make a suit-up video like this and to do Darth Vader to begin with. So incredibly grateful for the inspiration from that guy gave me and so many others. I can't tell you how many people found the Legion, found these costume clubs, and got the resources to get it together because of that guy. So I know I did mention I talk about how I clean and maintain this suit, and I think I'm going to talk about that more in an actual video just by itself, just because there's a lot of detail that's not really necessary to the suit up process and how to get this suit. I will be going over that in a separate video, so don't be afraid to stick around. I talk a lot about Star Wars, Darth Vader. If you want Disney parks, I live in Orlando, one of the greatest theme park cities in the world. So if you also want to see what it looks like to go as Darth Vader as to one of these events that we typically do, I've got multiple trooping vlogs you can check out. I've even got one with a Weird Al. Got some really amazing stuff, so don't be afraid to check it out. Thank you.